Welcome back. Today we're going to reveal a simple formula for creating the kind of photo web page that Google absolutely loves, and more often than not will get you listed at the top of the search results. By now you should realise high relevant rankings are like money in the bank. They mean more photo buyers visiting your website, more buyers looking at your images, more leads and more sales. Well, today we're going to show you the first step in dominating those first page results and forcing buyers to come to you first. That is a big call, but stick with me and I'll show you exactly how we can do it. What we're going to cover today is search engine optimization. How to publish pages that have the best possible chance of ranking well in the search engines. There are two parts to this, on-page and off-page. Off-page SEO for photographers is a whole video on its own, and we'll have a quick look at that tomorrow. But today I want to briefly cover a few key principles of on-page SEO, show you how they apply to photography, and then show you some practical examples of how you can make these pages quickly and easily on a couple of different platforms with no technical skills required. Now, there's a whole industry out there that makes a living telling people that this whole SEO business is incredibly complicated and needs constant attention from professional consultants. Don't believe it for a minute. The short version is Google's focus is all about serving up high quality web pages that match what the person is searching for. So Google uses a very complicated ranking algorithm that assesses pages and decides what they're about and how well they compare to other pages on the subject. And then they rank all the pages on a given subject accordingly. So if you want to rank well for a subject, you simply need to publish high quality content that's going to be of genuine interest to the people searching for that subject in a format that makes it easy for Google to assess accurately. It's all about the real person experience. Basically, you want to understand what Google needs, but always publish for people. So while we're going to look at a few specific elements you should have on your pages to help Google assess your content, you should be aware if you rely on manipulating those elements to rank well, the user experience won't match up to the promise and Google will drop you in an instant. So again, optimise for the search engines, but publish for people. What I'm going to show you here is a simple template format for a photo subject page that you can easily recreate for every single subject you shoot. These need to be very specific subjects, a very tight focus, and you'll remember the long tail keywords we talked about yesterday. If you take that approach, they'll rank well easily and they'll be found by people searching for your specific content. Remember, the more specific your focus, the more likely it is that your visitors are going to be buyers. The other thing to keep in mind here is, on this page the photos are secondary. Our goal is to get your page found, and that takes a text focus. We'll send the buyers to another page where they can appreciate your photography, but for this page we're only showing small thumbnails and the emphasis is on the text content. See, this is a marketing process much like the classic AIDA. We grab their attention in the search engine results, we generate interest with our photo page where they see your thumbnails, we build desire when they pick a thumbnail and view that full size, and then we prompt them to take action by asking them to buy now on the photo page. Our photo subject page is all about ranking well in Google, so we get the buyer's attention when they see the search results page and then generates real interest when they get here. If you're thinking your photos should speak for themselves, that's fine, but they don't start doing any talking until the photo page. Until then, we need to focus on written content. So let's have a look at the elements that need to be on your photo subject pages. The first item is the page title. This is possibly the most important element on the page. Google uses this as the first indicator of your page's content, so it needs to set the theme for the page and the rest of your written content needs to match it. This is where many photographers set themselves up for failure. They try to impress their visitors with creative or abstract page titles, and the inevitable outcome is Google doesn't rank the page for the right phrases, so no one ever sees their photos. You need to think about who your ideal buyer might be for these images and how they go about looking for them. What specific phrase would a buyer type into Google if they needed these images for a project? If you completed the keyword research step we covered yesterday, you'll be totally clear on who your target audience might be and the kind of phrases they might use to locate your photos. Remember those key criteria: very specific focus, low competition and high traffic if you can find it. Do use bywords, either photos, images or photography, and avoid pictures or pics. Do keep it very literal and very specific. Who, what, where, plus words a buyer might type into the search engine if they needed this subject. Be aware of other factors that could affect their search: time of day, specific date, strong themes or concepts or colours, and work through it all and come up with a single phrase of 4 to 6 words that works best. It really is important to take your time with this and get it right, as it sets the theme for the rest of the page And if you're totally clear on your focus, you'll find the rest of the page elements come together much more easily as well. Whatever else you do, don't get abstract or arty. That will only make your work invisible to anyone who might actually be looking for it. And if it's at all misleading, it can actually attract the wrong people looking for something else entirely. They'll leave your page the second they realise it, and that high bounce rate will in fact lower your Google quality score, make it even less likely that your target audience will ever see your photos. The next element is a block of text at the top of the page. This is a short introduction or page description, and it serves a couple of purposes. For SEO, it puts relevant text above the fold, so the search engine knows it's important and relevant to the page content. The further down the page you place it, the less weight the search engines give it, so we make it prominent and actually before your photos. For your visitors, it's a chance to engage with them and encourage them to wait for the page to load. Web users are notoriously impatient, and if there's any delay in the page loading or the first couple of thumbnails don't immediately match their needs, many will hit the back button in a flash. This introductory paragraph is your chance to say, hang on there for a second, here's what I'm going to show you if you wait around. So again, you need to be very literal and answer the who, what, where, why type questions for your visitor. The text should be brief, 1 or 2 paragraphs, about 100 to 200 words. It should use a variation of your main keyword phrase. For example, if you used photos in the title, use stock images in the description. If you used a plural in the title, use a singular in the description. Don't stray too far from your main target phrase. We do want to keep a tight focus, but it does need to be readable, interesting, and a little bit different. What we want to avoid at all costs is any appearance of keyword stacking, that is, overusing your target phrase to try and manipulate the search results. You'll probably have that phrase turning up in your caption, so it's best not to overdo it here. Again, the publish for people maximum covers this. If you use the same phrase over and over, it's going to read terribly, so it makes sense to mix it up and make it as interesting as possible for your readers, and that will automatically help you with the search engines. So now we have our target phrase as a page title, a short block of interesting and highly relevant text topping the page. Now it's time for some photos. As mentioned earlier, we're going to use thumbnails to show the visitor everything we've got at a glance, to allow them to choose the images they want to view full size. Generally, I'd suggest 20 to 30 images is ideal. You want a certain amount of content to let the visitor know that you've got good coverage of the subject, but you don't want to overdo it and create a page that takes forever to load. If you've got more than 40 or 50 images of a subject, you should consider splitting them into a couple of separate, more focused pages. Now, a lot of photographers will want to top the page with a full-size photo, but that really can work against you. First of all, you're assuming that every potential buyer arriving on the page is going to be equally impressed by your choice of image. And that's a big call. Say you've got 30 photos on your page, you might have a clear favourite, but are you really prepared to wager that that image will be the first choice for every visitor? It's much better to give the visitor the option to view all the images as thumbnails and let them choose to view those they think best meet their needs. Even worse are the flash galleries you see on so many photography websites. For SEO purposes, these are mostly worthless, as everything is embedded in a format that search engines simply can't index. For photo buyers, it forces them to wait for multiple images to load, and then forces them to either go through the images in predetermined order or wait for the page to load every time they want to jump ahead. The worst of them waste even more precious time and bandwidth, forcing all sorts of arty transitions on the visitor. Effects that might be eye-catching the first time around, but quickly get tiresome. After 14 years running stock photography libraries, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, the only people who are impressed by these flash galleries and fancy transitions are other photographers and your mum. Photo buyers hate them. Photo buyers are busy people on a deadline who want to see what you've got at a glance, then decide if any of those images are going to meet their needs. They want to be impressed by your content, not your presentation. So we send them to a separate photo page to view full-size images. Your thumbnails should all have a short descriptive caption immediately underneath each image. Again, this is where people-friendly design is also search engine friendly. Buyers need to be able to scan your page and identify the images that might meet their needs. And for that, they'll often need some basic information about the content of the image. Who, what, where, when, etc. The photo caption should be short and concise and give the viewer enough info to know if the image that caught their eye is in fact what they think it is and worth a closer look. Obviously, your thumbnail should be large enough for the viewer to get a pretty good idea of the content, but even then, a lot of the busier buyers will be operating in scan mode and they'll be looking for some solid idea of content before they open a full-sized image. Two things to avoid at all costs are the arty or abstract photo titles. The overly creative titles have no place in stock photography. Stock photo buyers hate them with a passion and consider them totally amateurish. Save them for your art gallery websites if you want, but don't use them in your stock catalogue. For stock, you need your photo caption to be totally literal. It needs to describe the exact content that the image displays, whether it's physical elements or concepts or emotions. The buyer should never be left wondering about a photo caption. The other thing that can cause problems is if you have too much repetition in your photo titles. The worst thing you can do is have the exact same photo caption for every image. Basically, Google's going to lose interest after the first few identical titles and leave. Depending on the rest of the written content on your photo subject page, you might get ranked, but never as well as you might have if you'd mixed up your photo captions a bit. One thing you can guarantee is if a search engine bot finds it boring, any human visitors are going to find it twice as bad, so you should mix it up for them as well. Aim for no more than 3 or 4 images sharing the same photo caption, and make sure they aren't all grouped together. If you really think a single caption is accurate for multiple images, then possibly you need to find some different images. There's nothing to be gained by publishing a page of near identical images. It will rank poorly in the search engines, and even if a few buyers do find it, it's unlikely you'll ever impress them unless you have a good selection of content on the subject. So much better to wait until you have a bit more variety. Find another subject for now. The final visible element on the page is more detailed information about each of the images. This information is primarily for the search engines, but we'll present it as a text photo list for the buyers as well. It should be simple: photo ID number, photo title, and then that extended description of each photo, where you can identify the key physical details of each image, any dominant themes, moods, colours, emotions, concepts. This block of written information is valuable text content for the search engines to index, and it's also a useful research tool for photo buyers. Many buyers will be looking for very specific content that's not easily verified by simply looking at a thumbnail. They may need to confirm a location, a date, a person's name, a species, scientific names, that sort of thing. So this provides the option for them to scan this data and decide if it's worth looking further. This is another area where you'll do well to avoid duplicate content. You will rank better if you take a moment to tweak your photo descriptions and mix them up. Swap words like photos, images and photography and put stock in there here and there, and make sure you've got the key content of each image accurately identified. This will also improve the experience for your human visitors. A mixed selection of images should automatically give you a mixed list of captions and descriptions. So if there's too much repetition, you either need to describe your photos more accurately or find a more varied selection of images. It is okay to include a couple of variations on each scene, but maybe a portrait shot and a landscape shot. Beyond that, there usually needs to be something significantly different in each and every image. If you end up with more than 3 or 4 near identical images of a given scene, then chances are you're expecting your visitors to do the editing job you should be doing. If you can't pick the best image in a set with time and a large monitor at your disposal, then your average visitor viewing them in a hurry on low-res screen hasn't got a chance. And when you make it too hard for a prospect to choose, more often than not, they choose nothing. They can and will always ask if they want to see more, but if you bore them with every single frame from a shoot, 9 times out of 10 they'll simply leave and never come back. Quite often I'll hear from photographers who take real exception to all this emphasis on written content. They'll insist that their photographs should speak for themselves. Some will point blank refuse to provide this kind of information, believing that somehow it's a betrayal of their art, while others are probably just a little bit lazy. Either way, they're really missing the point of stock photography and selling themselves short. Stock photography is all about marketing your existing images to meet the needs of unknown buyers. So a big part of selling stock photography is making sure your images can be found by the people who need them and that your prospective customers have all the information they need to make a decision to buy. With well-planned written content, you can do both. It gets you listed well in the search engines so that you're easily found by the photo buyers who need your specific subjects, and it directs those targeted prospects to pages of photos that perfectly match what they're looking for. Even better, in the next video we're going to show you exactly how to put this photo subject page through a simple promotional process so buyers have no choice but to view your work before anybody else. But first, there's a couple of items to finish off that aren't actually visible on the page. They're inserted in the code of the web page, in the head section, and they're known as meta tags. The ones we're most interested in are the title and the description. For the meta title, we'll simply use our page title. This is used by all the search engines and it's easily the most important. The meta description doesn't have as much impact on the page ranking, but it is shown in the search result pages for a lot of search engines. So we want to make sure it works as an enticing ad for our web page. Generally, you want people to see the phrase they were searching for in the search results. Your page description is a good starting point for this, but it's usually a bit too long. We need to trim it down to about 25 to 30 words. So look for the most important aspects, make sure your keyword phrase is in there, and make sure it sells your page. There's also a meta tag called keywords. These are generally thought to have little value in SEO these days, but most people put something in there just in case. For our purposes, I'd suggest you put the top 3 or 4 keyword phrases you came up with when you're finding a title phrase, plus 1 or 2 broader phrases like stock photography or stock images, and a category phrase like landscape photography, wildlife photography, sports photography. The other invisible element you should use all the time is the alt tags in your images. These are displayed when the browser has images turned off, and while it's hard to imagine anyone searching for photos without displaying images, the search engines do use them to help evaluate your content. So always make sure you use your photo caption as the image alt tag. There is a title tag as well, and that used to be quite popular, but I don't recommend using it now as it's been so overused by people trying to manipulate the search engines that I think it could actually work against you. Google has a thing about over-optimization where they're always on the lookout for web pages that have too much going on that's specifically aimed at Google. And there's a very good chance they'll penalise you if they think you've crossed the line. The big problem is they don't actually tell you where the line is and they move it regularly, so the best practice is to err on the side of caution and focus on the human experience. The final element you need to have on your page is some social sharing options. This is another area where a lot of photographers miss the point and miss out. They think these social tools are for kids or just for generating visitor traffic, and they figure any traffic's going to be very low value. And they're probably not far off the mark on the last one, but the sheer volume of users and the amazing reach you can generate means that it can be worth your while as a prospecting tool. Obviously some qualification would need to take place after that, but generally that's where the social connection process comes into play, because people connect with like-minded people, so if someone's viewing a photography page, chances are people in their circle of friends are going to be photographers or maybe even photo buyers. Where social media becomes increasingly important these days, though, is for SEO and search results. There are currently as many searches happening every month on social platforms like Facebook and YouTube as are performed on the search engines like Yahoo and Google. The long-range trend is that social search is increasing and search engine searches are holding steady or even decreasing. That's why Google is so focused on improving the user experience, and it's also why they're incorporating more and more social indicators in their search results and their rankings. In fact, the catchphrases now are authority status and market leadership, and both of these rely a lot on social networking. Google wants to list the most important and most relevant sites first, and to gauge that, they're looking more and more towards social media, basically for social proof that your content is relevant and is quality. They're looking for shares, for likes, mentions, tweets, all that sort of thing. They want to see your brand name in conversations. They want to see people talking about you, your pages, sharing your content, and linking to it. A lot of this we'll cover tomorrow, but the important thing for now is you need to have these options on your photo subject page to encourage it. Most photography publishing platforms will have all this built in, but if you're making your own web pages, keep it in mind and be sure to add this functionality. Okay, that's on-page SEO in a nutshell. It is a short version, but it really is all you need. I do read a number of weekly newsletters on this and follow a couple of blogs, and to be honest, a lot of it is just the same basics rehashed week after week. There really is no need to overcomplicate it. It should be simple. Publish for people and make sure you give the search engines everything they need to accurately index your content. So as long as you focus on giving your own visitors the best possible content and experience, you and Google should get along fine. Now I just want to take a moment to show you a couple of examples of this style of photo content page in action. I do recommend that you use a ready-made web publishing platform of some sort. There is a tendency for photographers to want to do everything themselves, and I've met more than a few who went DIY and ended up forgetting to be a photographer. The key to any business is to focus your time and effort on core tasks, those things that you do best and no one else can do. After that, your goal should be to find someone else to do everything else. Too many photographers get so caught up trying to do all the mechanical tasks, they can't devote enough time to their core tasks, so their business stagnates. Obviously, if you're starting out or times are tough, you're going to try and save costs by doing some things yourselves. I don't believe your web presence should be one of them. After all, if you're setting up a store-based studio, it's very unlikely you'd try to do the shop fitting yourself, or you'd go out and learn sign writing for the front windows or anything like that. Your skill would be in creating the images, and everything else is just mechanics, so you'd leave those to other people and get on with the important stuff yourself. It's the same for a website. The average photographer has to fit in more than enough computer time these days already without trying to learn web design. Much better to focus your time and effort on what you do that no one else can, creating great images. Anyway, that's something to keep in mind. For now, here are two examples of how you can use third-party web platforms to publish these photo subject pages. One very simple way to set up your photo pages is using a service called Weebly. You can actually set up a free account with unlimited pages on it and a lot of very good, simple drag and drop website building tools. So these are just a couple of websites I've made at different times for some marketing purposes, but I'm just going to add, just as a demo, I'm going to add a page to this one for you. Okay, so it's very, very basic pages. There's all sorts of themes and designs. If you want to have a look at the themes, you'll see there's literally hundreds of themes to choose from. You can change them quite easily, very quickly. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new page. It's as simple as this. I'm going to use those albatross photos again since they're ready to go. So again, we start with the keyword phrase that we're after. We'll stay with the same design. This information is important. This is the page title we were talking about earlier about the meta tag. This one's very important. Page description, not so much, but it's the one people see in the search engines. And the keywords, yeah, probably not too important these days, but if you have the option to add them, you may as well. The footer code and the header code we don't really need to worry about at this stage. So we'll save that and we'll go have a look at the page. So with Weebly, it's a very simple system. You just drag whichever content you'd like in there. So we're going to add a simple paragraph for starters, and I'm just going to add some text that we use similar to what we used on our other Lightbox page. With the multimedia, we'll add a photo gallery. We just drag that down here and click to upload images. That only takes a minute, and then you'll see those photos have all been added to the page. You can rearrange them if you like. So it's all very simple. It only took a couple of minutes. You'll notice this version we don't have a whole lot of text in there, so we're going to add another content block. This time we're going to use one with the title just to make it easy. We'll drop that there. And you can see that once you've got that information ready to go, it's a very quick process. One thing I have noticed, this page isn't showing the title, so we might copy that information. We'll delete that one and we'll put one in with the title again. So there's a bit you can do with these pages to liven them up. And you'll see there's a lot of options for adding extra content. We might just have another look at the themes, see if we can find something a little bit more suitable. So that's a better looking theme. That works nicely. The thumbs are a little bit smaller, but the information's there. So now it's just my photos and those same key elements we talked about earlier. The photos, the introduction, the keyword rich title and the extended captions down the bottom. Okay, so you can see in just a couple of minutes we've managed to create a good simple page with a lot of valuable SEO content, and that's pretty much ready to go. The only thing you will need to do is work out where you want to link your thumbnail photos. If you've got a stock library set up, you could link it directly to the photo page on your photo library, and that way the buyers are there ready for the ordering options. Or you could actually set up individual photo pages on Weebly. Personally, I'd go for the stock library and get the traffic to the commercial site. There are a lot of themes there. One thing I noticed on this that I missed earlier, the captions aren't actually displaying on the theme I've used. Sometimes they will. There are themes there where it will, so check around. There's a lot of themes there, a lot of templates, so pick one where your captions are displayed. That does make a big difference. This one actually puts them in the alt tag that we do want, but it doesn't actually show it on the page. So get it on the page if you can, but lots of templates there. Find one that suits you and have a bit of fun with it. The drawback with Weebly is that there's no searchable catalogue of your work attached. It's a good option to create great photo subject pages, but then you'd want to be linking those up with some sort of stock library catalogue that's searchable. WordPress is another popular option, though it is a little more hands-on, and you still haven't got that built-in search engine for your images. So if you have a good stock library present somewhere else and you just want to drive traffic to those pages, that could be the right option for you. The final option I want to show you is the Global Eye photography portal. With Global Eye, it's almost plug and play for these pages. As you add your photos to the database, you're adding caption information as well, so most of the work is done by the time your photos are submitted. Then to make a photo subject page, you just add the selected photos to a lightbox, add the title, add a description, and the job's done. You can see this in action here. Okay, this video I'm just going to show you how to create a lightbox. It's a very quick and easy process, and you really should do it with each set of new images you upload. So we'll publish lightbox. This is in the submissions manager. And I've just written the text out. I'm just going to copy that across. Got that in place. I'm just going to select from the last 40 and create Lightbox. So this brings up all the images I've loaded recently. Okay, so I've selected all the photos I want. Just a matter of scrolling down to the bottom and adding them to the Lightbox. And now I'm just going to put them in order. Okay, that's about right. Okay, so it's all done. I'll finish Lightbox. Okay, so I've just added some one-word keywords and 3 phrases as well that I might be looking for. So I'll just preview that and I'll just check the information one last time. I'm happy with all that. So what we're going to do is submit it as a public Lightbox that we want to promote as widely as possible. So basically I've done that and now Global Eye does everything else. There's no shortage of photography portals out there, and I actually tried looking for a few demos for this video, but time and time again I ran into the same problems. Unless you were prepared to custom code pages, there were very few that would let you just do thumbnail only pages. Very few of them displayed caption info, and most gave you no option to turn off the flash galleries. Basically it seemed that most of the sites I looked at were set up to impress photographers rather than service photo buyers. So do your research and choose carefully. Okay, that's about it for today. Just to recap, these photo subject pages are simply a tool for getting noticed and driving targeted visitor traffic to view your photos. As such, it's all about purpose-driven design and lots of relevant written content. You need to include the key visible elements on each page as well as the invisible tags. You need to offer social sharing options and encourage people to connect with you. And one thing we didn't mention that should be a given, your photos need to look fantastic as thumbnails. You can download our on-page SEO checklist below, and there's a more detailed report on SEO below that if you're interested. Thanks again for sticking with me through all this. It gets a bit dry at times, there's a bit of theory there, but it is essential if you want to get it right. All the promo work in the world won't help you if your page doesn't work with the search engines. Tomorrow it gets a bit more fun. I'm going to show you our 4-step promotional process that will get this page indexed quickly and have it ranking for our target phrase in no time at all. We're getting to the business end of things now, and I'll share my 2 favourite shortcuts to ensure Google takes you seriously and ranks your page fast. And I'll also cover a couple of traps that you need to avoid at all costs. Finally, I'm going to show you how we can dominate the search results and literally force buyers to ignore all the ads, all the free images, and come to your page first. All that and more tomorrow. See you then.